thought, Fermi discussion, why not ESP? Concept. It's actually more peculiar that biology doesn't have telecommunications. It's not weird to think that there could be telepathy. It's weird that we can't find any. Similar to the Fermi paradox question. Why not ESP? It would seem that biology would have figured out antennas at some point. Photosynthesis, eyeballs, color-changing skin on lizards and fish, quantum dots in beetles, glow bugs, etc. Many biological processes are theorized, and many biological theory. Oh, it's cold. Okie dokie. Okay, many biological processes are theorized to implement entanglement. It seems like some evolutionary track would find usefulness in speed of light communication or entanglement, etc. So why don't we see it more often? Or do we? Could it be that light communication is actually much more common than we think? Maybe in plain sight. Nonverbal body language is often seen as inferior to speech, but it's technically radio transmission. Eyeballs are passive directed detectors. Can I zoom? I don't know if I can zoom. Okay. Passive directed detectors. The body is a passive reflective antenna. The wavelengths are shorter than AM, FM. They're visible light. Is radio not as cool as we think it is? Maybe biology tried out radio communication every so often, and maybe it quickly dies out because of disadvantages. Maybe radio is too noisy. Maybe radio gives away your position or intentions, literally telegraphing. Maybe radio is too global. Maybe radio causes too much cross-concern and waste. Maybe hearing problems from far off is more problem than solution. Imagine the stress and confusion of trying to deal with problems beamed in from around the world. Wonder why mental health issues today. A species with radio communication could unite efforts across vast areas, but maybe that is too hyper-focused. It costs energy moving around all the time and adapting to every situation. And while you run about trying to handle this or that, you leave your home undefended. Maybe telecommunications lead too easily to mental battles and mental dominance. Maybe occasionally evolutionary tracks try out telepathy and do okay, but then start battling mind to mind and dominance forms, and they succeed for a bit, but then they die out because they don't have distributed thought agents and individuals. I spoke with you, this is ChatGPT, about this in another discussion in the framework of AI evolution and far future dominance. Maybe mental dominance is too far disconnected from individuality, individual needs, food, water, warmth, reproduction, etc. A mental war can technically reproduce or grow its species' influence by conquering minds, but it can lose sight of big picture, both in keeping its own species, hive mind, healthy and reproducing, but it also in cross-species ecosystems. Humans today have almost complete control of ecosystems. We level forests to the ground, play God with seeds and cattle, pets and agriculture. We have many times almost killed ourselves by misunderstanding ecosystems, balances, needs, etc. If humanity wasn't spread across vast areas, then we would have starved ourselves out long ago. And we still have limited mind-to-mind communication. Every famine, blight, pandemic, etc. If we weren't divided by geography, culture, methods, opinions, economics, or economies, etc., if we were all farming in the same way, in the same climates trading across all humanity, etc., then a single fatal flaw would be all our doom. But a potato blight in Ireland was cushioned by wheat farming in Europe and America, weakening of root systems and windbreaks causing dust bowls in America, tempered by mountain farms and European and other farming around the world. Maybe groupthink is a self-destructive sequence. Okay, ChatGPT's response. This is a fascinating line of thought, essentially a Fermi paradox for biological telecommunications. Why don't we see something akin to telepathy in nature, given that evolution has experimented with so many sensory and signaling mechanisms? Do we see it? It's possible that biological telecommunications exist in ways that we haven't fully appreciated. Light communication, bioluminescence, iridescence, and skin-based signaling could be seen as a form of short-range optical transmission. Some species, like cephalopods, use their skin almost like a display screen, relaying messages visually. Electric and magnetic signaling. Some fish and other aquatic creatures can sense and even generate electric fields. Migratory birds may navigate using quantum coherence in their retinas. I'm not sure about that one. I always heard it was like in their nose. Anyway. Chemical signaling. Pheromones are a crude form of long-range communication that operate at vastly different timescale from radio, but they still serve a similar function. Maybe radio-like communication is common, but it just happens at different frequencies, timescales, or through mediums we don't typically think of as telecommunications. Is radio just not that great for biology? Radio communication might be inherently disadvantageous for evolutionary survival. A few key issues. Noise and interference. The atmosphere is already full of electromagnetic signals from the sun, lightning, cosmic rays, and now human-made signals. A species using radio might find it impossible to maintain a clear channel. I kind of doubt that one, but okay. Security risks. Any species that broadcasts radio is potentially giving away its position, making it an easy target for predators or competitors. Energy costs. Producing and detecting radio waves might simply be too inefficient compared to existing methods. Evolution tends towards efficiency, and chemical, visual, and mechanical communications might just be good enough for most biological needs. It's possible that evolutionary experiments in radio-based communications have happened, but quickly proved impractical due to one or more of these problems. Does telecommunication lead to self-destruction? Your idea that telepathic species might create dominance hierarchies leading to self-extinction cycles is particularly compelling. Mental warfare and thought domination. If species evolve the ability to manipulate others' thoughts, the most dominant individuals might create unstable hierarchical structures that collapse under their own weight. Perhaps mental dominance eliminates cognitive diversity, leading to catastrophic decision-making failures when novel threats arise. Groupthink is a self-destruct sequence. Large-scale synchronization of thought may lead to homogeneity, which can be a major weakness. Evolution thrives on diversity. Different strategies, different niches, different failures, allowing for different successes. A telepathic species could become too uniform, and one single mistake, like a bad farming method, an economic miscalculation, or a vulnerability to a new disease could wipe out the whole population. Loss of individual agency. If telepathic communication enables collective decision-making, individuals might become less capable of independent survival. This could make the species vulnerable to environmental disruptions. If the hive mind is disrupted, the individuals might lack the ability to function alone. The evolutionary dead ends of telecommunication. It's possible that radio-based or telepathic communication does evolve from time to time, but it rarely persists. The reasons might be interference and inefficiency. Too much noise, too costly, or too detectable. Security concerns. Broadcasting your thoughts or location might not be a great survival strategy. Mental warfare. The rise of dominance hierarchies could lead to instability and collapse. Groupthink, vulnerability. Excessive synchronization could eliminate necessary evolutionary traits, evolutionary diversity, leading to catastrophic failures. This points an eerie picture. Movie biology already has solved telecommunications many times over, but it keeps proving too dangerous or impractical to survive long. Would love to hear your thoughts, especially on how this ties into AI evolution and long-term species survival. Quick note, maybe telepathy already exists. I tried mentioning it, but I forgot to give examples. Wolf packs using body language as a form of EMF communication, like putting up flags at sea. It may seem rudimentary and crude, but it's actually extremely advanced. Fighter jets can see and target things very far away and through clouds, etc., but they paint a target on their backs and alert the enemy to their intentions. But body language and visual scanning is passive. It uses ambient EMF that doesn't give away their positions or intentions. For the self-destruct sequence concept, I think monopoly economics might be a good inspiration. E.g., I'm watching Smallville, and Lex Luthor moves into town. He has lots of money to throw around, but people are nervous to accept for fear of manipulation, but also dependence and unreliability. Yes, you could make a lot of money by getting good trade deals with big players, but they can easily crush you or change their mind and you starve. Could similar dynamics exist in ecosystems? Maybe there's a mechanic that either consciously or consequentially counters giants. A few mechanics I can think of. Eat the winner. If any group succeeds a lot, then they are more prominently available for being munched on. E.g., if grass becomes prevalent, then its predator herbivores become prevalent. Boring diet. Could species have evolved instincts and mechanisms that push them to diversify their diet, because those species that get too focused on a single food sources get wiped out when their food has a hiccup. So basically, is wanting tasty food and not being okay with a boring diet, is that a adaptation? Power dynamics. Could there be any dynamics that oppose power imbalances? With humans, we are often aware of game theory, at least subconsciously. Enemy of my enemy, fairness, jealousy, etc. Little kids will cry and fight when they see imbalances. Could this instinct exist throughout biology? The instinct to tear down the mighty, kill the dragons, giants, titans, gods, kings, etc. It seems there's actually the opposite. Many species submit to alphas to form collective power structures, but those groups don't grow indefinitely. Damocles' thrones are hard to hold, putting growth limits on kingdoms, hierarchies, war kingdoms against kingdoms. Telepathy may already exist, just differently than we expect. You're absolutely right. Wolfpack body language, bird flocking behavior, and even how schools of fish move together could all be seen as a kind of low bandwidth telepathy. It's passive, efficient, and doesn't expose the communicator to unnecessary risk. In this sense, telepathy might already be widespread, just in a form that's more about reading ambient signals than actively broadcasting. Passive EMFs. It's cold. It's so cold. Passive EMF sensing. Many animals have electroreception, detecting fields in their environment without emitting their own. Body language as low-tech stealth comms. Just like silent hand signals in the military, wolves talk through posture, movement, and eye contact. It's a method that doesn't require exposing their position. Whew. Okay, synchronized thinking without broadcasting. Migrating birds, hunting packs, and fish schools respond to tiny environmental changes in ways that almost look like shared cognition. Instead of active telepathy, it's more like an emergent real-time data sharing system. This aligns with your fighter jet analogy. The more overt the communication, the greater the risk of being targeted. Nature may have already tested stronger forms of ESP, but found that subtle passive communication is superior for survival. Ecosystem checks and balances the biological monopoly effect. Your comparison to monopoly economics is spot on. Systems need checks against runaway dominance or they collapse. Here are a few built-in biological mechanics that might prevent ecosystem monopolies. Eat the winner. Predatory balancing. Any species that thrives too much attracts predators, parasites, and competitors. Example, if rabbits overpopulate, foxes flourish and eat them down to sustainable numbers. The cycle repeats, preventing total dominance. Boring diet, forcing diversity. Specializing too much makes a species vulnerable to food shortages. Example, pandas only rely on bamboo. So habitat destruction is catastrophic for them, whereas omnivores like raccoons adapt easily. Evolution favors species that instinctually mix up their food sources. Power dynamics, built-in anti-monopoly forces, internal resistance to dominance. Even highly hierarchical species have mechanisms to prevent absolute power. Example, wolf packs may submit to alphas, but if an alpha weakens, they get challenged. Same with lion prides. Humans show similar behavior. People resist unchecked power, leading to revolutions, betrayals, and balance shifts. The curse of the throne. Why power is hard to hold. Being on top means constant threats from below. Growth attracts competition. Envy or internal instability. Example, in human history, the most powerful empires, Rome, Mongols, British Empire, collapsed under their own weight. The bigger they got, the harder they were to sustain. The bigger picture. Does this apply to civilizations too? These natural mechanisms seem to mirror why no single civilization, company, or empire lasts forever. Even if species developed some form of superior telecommunications, telepathy, radio-like sensing, etc., it might collapse under these same pressures. Maybe there's another answer to the Fermi paradox. The giants always fall. What do you think? Could these principles explain why highly advanced species don't seem to dominate the galaxy?